So let's start with our previous topic, which is investment appraisal, part 2. So in the previous part, we already finished two different types of methods that help us to select the project. We cover about ARR, accounting rate of return, and the other one was payback period method. I received email from the student regarding the formula for accounting rate of return method. So let me confirm the formula for accounting rate of return. I don't remember. I think I mentioned annual rate of return divided by initial investment. So let me confirm here, accounting rate of return formula. Accounting rate of return. So the formula should be average annual return. Average annual return or expected annual return, whatever you want to call it, right? But it's annual return. It's not a rate of return. So divided by initial investment. Initial investment. If I mention here, instead of average annual return, if I mention annual rate of return, that's wrong, because your numerator cannot be rate of return, because if you divide rate of return divided by the initial investment, it doesn't make any sense to get rate of return. We need to calculate rate of return here, not, it shouldn't be here, right? So it's a average annual return, not rate of return, right? And one more thing that I need to confirm regarding your the email I received from the student. Let me check one more time. Okay. So I received email from the student regarding the question 16 from your midterm exam. And I don't remember which question paper you get it. You get set A or set B? Let me write down the question 16. So you can see question 16. That was your question 16 in your midterm exam, or the calculation question, because I have a two different question 16. Another one. question 16 here. So that's your another question 16. And your right answer is this. That's your right answer, C, right? Okay, so calculation question, so not this, so this question 16. So that is your answer for your question 16, right? So you can check. So it's the same question that we also practice in the class, if you remember that, right? The same question we have done in the class. So you can have a look at your notes for your question 16. So let me check in case. Wait for me, let's check it again. So here, let me show you the question. Here, this question. So that's question. I ask you in your exam. Here. So Fred Marino places 100 in your saving accounts for 2 years, right? Another years means 2 years. So that's year 2. That's your question. Not this one. That's your question. So this one, or you can write 100, 1 plus 0.08 for 2 years. If you solve it, it's going to be 117. I'm not sure, but it's going to be 116 or 117. Can you please check 116 point something? So it's going to be 117. So approximately 117. Whatever is number is close to 117. So I didn't write exactly answer, but approximately 117. So if you look at your options, if I will look at your option here, so you will see here 117. All right, so it's like 116.6 something, right? So it's going to be approximately 117. So this is not close to 116 point something. This is not close to 11, and this is not close to, obviously, 6. It's not exactly maybe, but anyway, as we mentioned before, you have to choose the closest numbers, obviously, 116 or 117.3. So that's why C is the right answer, right?
Excuse me.
Yes.
I didn't choose the answer C, but I wrote the number out of like 116.64. Is it okay if
Did you
I
write
did
this
not?
number on your exam paper?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay,
Because
thank you.
Maybe you confuse that the answer is wrong. So that's why you're
Yes.
writing 116.64 or 116 something. If your answer is 116 something point something, that's fine. As long as it's close to option C, that's fine. So you are writing the answer 116, you will get full marks. So don't worry about it.
Okay, thank you, teacher.
So any other question regarding your question 16? If no question, then can we start our next formula, which is net present value? Yes or no? Can we start?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's continue with our next formula. 6. So now next formula is net present value. It's a little bit different than your present value. You already learned about present value in your topic 3, right? Present value and future value. So you already study about present value using the formula. But here you will calculate present value or net present value using the table method, not the formula, because you know how to calculate present value using the formula. But in this topic, we will calculate net present value using the table method. So in table method, you may not need a specific formula or the calculator. So table method is useful when you don't want to use any kinds of calculator stuff. So let me send you the table first, and then we will continue. So make sure you save this table. I don't remember I sent you this table last time or not, but I'm sending you table present value 2 table, discount and annuity. Right, so these are the 2 table. You can save it because we need these 2 table. If you want, you can download this table from your from internet. You can Google these tables. You can find it. So in your exam, when you have exam, so you don't worry about these tables. So I will attach this table in your question paper. So you don't have to worry about the values that you're gonna use applying these methods. And of course, you don't have to bring table from home because it's a closed book exam. You are not allowed to bring any kinds of written material or any material in your exam. So these 2 tables will be given in your question paper, or the table values will be given in your question. Right. So if you read your question, then you will find it. So let's start with the present value or net present value. You know present value. Right? Present value means discounted future value called present value. Right. Now, how to calculate the present value? So we have a formula to calculate present value. The formula is present value minus present Okay, so the formula is present value minus initial investment, right? Now, you know what is initial investment. So whatever money we have invested in the beginning of the year or beginning of the business, when we start the business, whatever cash is outflow in the beginning or in the 0 year, that's called the initial investment, right? Now, present value. How to calculate present value? So we have two ways to calculate present value. The first is a formula method. Formula method. And the other one is a table method. Obviously, both will gonna give you same answer. Formula method that we study in our topic 3, right? So which is present value equals to cash flows for future value divided by 1 plus R T, right? That is your formula method, right? That we will not study in this topic because we already covered in topic 3. Now, table method. Now, how to calculate present value using table method. So using table method means the table that I sent you before, we will use those tables to calculate the present value, right? Now, before we apply these two tables, we have to look at the cash flows. So under table method, we will calculate table value. We will find the table value by using tables. So table values multiply by cash flows. All right. Table value multiplied by cash flows will be present value. All right. Now, cash flows divided into two parts. We have two types of cash flows, and these two types of cash flows means two different tables. So if your cash flows are uniform means even cash flows, same cash flow every year. So let's say first year 5,000 cash flow, second year 5,000, third year 5,000, fourth year 5,000, so on. So every year same cash flow. This is called even cash flows. You know that we also apply the same thing in our payback period method, right? If your cash flows are uneven, so your cash flows are uneven, not equal, unequal cash flows. First year 1,000, second year 2,000, third year 500, so on. So if your cash flows are even, then we will apply NUT. We will use NUT table. All right. If your cash flows are uneven, we will apply discount tables. All right. We apply discount table. So you have two tables, NUT table and discount table. All right. So after applying these tables, we will get the table values. All right. Okay. Now, how to understand which table is a NUT table or which table is a discount table? Normally, it's written on the top of the table. If you open the table, you will see that on the top of table, these values are written very, the name of the heading of the table is NUT or discounts. But of course, you need to know, not just simply by looking at the headings and you find out this is NUT and this is discount. So you need, by looking at the values, so you also need to understand which values indicates the NUT and which values indicate the discount. So always remember, under NUT table, you always value start from 1 point, 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, so on. All right, if you see your annuity table, you can see that 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, 4 points. And in discount table, your values always from 0 point something, 0 0.9, 0 0.8, 0 0.7, 0 0.6, something. All right, so under discount table, your values will not be 1, never be 1 point, 2 point, 3 point. So 1 point, 2 point, 3 point will be your NUT table, and 0 0.9, 0 0.8, 0 0.7, 0 0.6, and so on. That indicates your discount tables, because value has been discounted, value has been reduced, right? Okay, so this is very quick ideas to understand which one is an annuity table and which one is a discount table. All right. Now the question is, how can we use this table to find the value? If you wanna find the table value, you need two things. First thing, you need a rate of return that will be given in your question. All right, rate of return. We call it rate of return, or you can call it discount rate. Discount rate. You can call it cost of capital, or you can call it rate of interest, whatever you want to call it, right? Interest rate. So rate, you need to find the rate. Second thing, you need to find the time in the question. You need to find the rate, you need to find the time to find the value. So table looks like this. Here you have a rates. You have a rates. So let's say 5%, 10%, 15%, 20%, so on. And here column, you have time, right? 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, so on. So for example, so here is a 5%, 10%, 15%, 20%, so on. So for example, rate is 10% and time is 4 years. In your question says that you have a cash flows, rate of return is 10% and time is 4 years. So 10 is here and 4, so you have like all these values, right? So you have all the values here, right? So 10 here and 4 is here. So whatever is value, you will pick that value and you insert here. So that's the way to find the table value, and multiply by cash flows that will be given in your question. Now, be careful when you're gonna write down the cash flows. If your cash flows are even, so let's say even means first year 5,000, second year 5,000, third year 5,000. All right, rate 10%, time let's say 3 years, right? And so same thing. So whatever value here, so for example value is 2.375, that's your table values, right? Multiply by cash flows. Cash flows are 5,000, not 15,000, because your cash flows are same. So you're gonna use it annual cash flow, which is 5,000. And this is your PV. All right. So this is the way when you calculate with even cash flows. You will use only one cash flow. You're not going to write second, third, and fourth. This is for even cash flows. If your cash flows are even. If your cash flows are uneven, so let me write down. Your cash flows are uneven. Uneven cash flow means, let's say first year is 1,000, second year is 2,000, third year is 3,000, right? So now you have to calculate table values, 3 different table values, because your cash flows are different. Different cash flows have a different present value, right? So you cannot simply use one cash flow. So you have to calculate 3 different table value. So remember, it's a first year, time 1, time 2, time 3. First year, second year, third year. So first year. So time is 1 and rate is 10. So let's say 1 here. So you will find this value here. So we'll write discount, let's say 0.909, for example. This is your first year. Multiply by second year, you find 10%. Second year will be here, right? So let's say 0.834. It's just a random number. I will show you later in your table. And third year is here. So rate is 10%, year is 3, right? So third year, this value, let's say 0.724, right? Now you're gonna multiply these numbers and you add them all. This is your present value. All right. So this is there are 2 different ways to calculate present value if your cash flows are even and your cash flows are uneven. Did you get the idea? Did you get the ideas to calculate present value? Of course, I will show you the question and then we can have a look at that question. But before we move on to question, did you understand the Did you understand that? Say something. Can you hear me, student? Please say something. Did you understand? Can we move on to the question? Can we practice?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So then let's move on. So let's move on to the question. Here is a question. So first is your uniform cash flows. Uniform means even cash flows, right? Okay. So formula, you know that. So we directly come to the question. So it says that desired rate of investment for 3 years. Time is 3. Rate is 10%. Initial investment is 300,000. Right? So we're going to calculate present value. So we calculate present value first, and then later on we calculate the net present value. So again, you have to go to the table and check in a table 10%, 3 years. So let me show you the table, and then you can have a look. Let me open the table. Okay, so I'll show you the table. So it's an uneven, it's an even cash flows, right? If it's even cash flows, we're gonna have a look at the NUT table, all right? So here is your NUT table. You can see that, I hope. So in this NUT table, what you have to do, your rate is how many percent? 10%, right? Rate is 10% here. I hope you can see that, right? And the time is 3 years. So 3 years is here. Time is 3 years. So you just keep going to match 3 with 10. So if you're going, keep going here. So 3 is here, 2.48685. You don't have to write all big numbers, so maximum 3 decimals. So 2.8487. That's it. Maximum 3 decimal, that's fine. Not 2 decimals here, 3 decimals. So this is the table value. So 2.486 or 7, right? So now we go back to the lecture slide here. So you can see your rate is 2.487, which has come from 3 years, 10%. And your cash flows are 125,000 each year. So cash flows multiply by table value. So that's your present value. And the formula to calculate net present value is present value minus initial investment. So initial investment is 300,000, right? And present value is 310. So present value minus initial investment. So this is your answer, which is 10,875. All right. Now the question is, how do we understand we should select the project or reject the project? How do we know that? So in order to select or reject the project, it depends upon the net present value. So remember, if net present value is positive, we will select the project. If net present value is negative, we will reject the project. So if you have a look at the question, you can see I write here positive. So obviously positive. Why? Because present value is greater than initial investment. So your NPV is positive, right? So NPV is positive here. So means we will select this project. If both project has a positive NPV, let's say first project is this 10,875 is the net present value, and the other project which net present value is 11,000 also positive. So which project we will select? If both project has a positive NPV, then we will select the higher NPV. So higher the NPV, obviously, we will high probability to select that project. All right. So let me write down this thing on the sheet. So now, if both projects are positive, then right. So if both project has a positive NPV, then we will select the higher one, right? So this is the way to calculate net present value using table methods, NUT table. All right. Now let's have a look at the uneven cash flows. If your cash flows are uneven, then obviously we're going to look at the discount table. So how we going to apply discount table to find the values, and then later on we multiply by cash flows to find the present value. So let's go back to the same slide. So next one, here is a question. Uneven cash flows. So it says very clear, a project with unequal cash flows each year using the present value interest factor table. So the total investment or initial investment is 90,000, right? Now, required rate of return, RRR, rate of return or required rate of return over 4 years is 10%. So when we go to the table, we only focus on 10%. Now, annual cash flow, 60. So obviously first year 60, second year 40, third year 30, and fourth year 20. So cash flows are uneven cash flows, right? So we can write down here uneven cash flows. Now we have to find the table value. That's your table value. How can we find these values? So obviously we're going to look at the table. So for this cash flow is the first year. So time is 1, rate is 10. Time is 2, rate is 10. Time is 3, rate is 10. Time is 4, rate is 10, right? So I'll show you these values here. Yes, that's your discount table. So you can match. Rate is 10, you can see 10%, right? And time is here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 years, right? So here, 10%. So the first year, the value is 0.909. Second year, the table value is 0.826. Third year, the table value is 0.751. And the fourth year, table value is 0.683. So here, 0.909, 0.826, 0.751, and 0.683. So now we're gonna multiply cash flows with table values, all right? So that's, we got present value for each year. And we're gonna add all these values. So present value or total present value is 123,770. So formula, you know that present value minus initial investment. So you can see your present value is positive because present value is higher than initial investment. So you have a positive NPV. If present value less than initial investment, you have a negative NPV. So we will select this project. So if you compare this project, whose NPV is 33,770, with this project, whose NPV is obviously 10,875, so we will select this project because NPV is higher than the other project. That is the idea to calculate NPV using table method. Is that okay? Is that fine? All right. So now let me have a look something and then we will. Okay. Now let's move on to the practice question. So the question that we practiced in the last lecture, this question was payback period, and you already answered this question. Now I changed this question to NPV. For example, your, let's say, so your rate of return, required rate of return is 11%. If required rate of return is 11%, can you calculate net present value and tell me we should select this project or we should reject this project? All right, so do it now. So you have to calculate NPV and make your decision. So do that and give me your answer. So have you got the same number? So we get how much is the present value? Total present value? One, 3, 6, 290 minus, so we are calculating NPV. So present value minus initial investment, which is 105. So that is 31,290, which is positive. So we will select the project. All right. So this is the way to estimate the net present value. So is that okay? Is that fine? Can we move on to the next method? Can we continue to the fourth method? Okay. So let's move on to the next one. So let me send you this file so you can save it. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Now the next or the last method is internal rate of return. Internal rate of return. We also call it IRR, right? So in order to understand this IRR method, we have to go back to the net present value and we have to revise or recall NPV. So we recall NPV. All right. How we decide NPV, whether we should, applying this method, whether we should select or reject the project. You know that this NPV depends upon the positive, right, and the negative. If the positive value, we select the project, the negative value, we reject the project. How about if NPV is 0? If NPV is 0, NPV 0 means your present value is equals to initial investment. If NPV is 0, what should we do now? We should select or we should reject. So in order to clarify this kind of circumstances, we apply another method. That method is IRR. So IRR method is the method when your NPV is equals to 0. That's IRR method indicate. So when your present value is equals to initial investment, so we apply this internal rate of return method to find out we should. Okay. So when your NPV is equals to 0, then we apply this IRR. All right. So now how do we calculate this IRR? So the formula is initial investment divided by cash flows. Divided by cash flows. So when you divide initial investment by cash flows, you will get the value. All right. That value is not your answer. Now, using these values, so for example, if these value start from 1 point or 2 point or 3 point, all right? If these values are 1 point, 2 point, or 3 point, or this value is 0.9 something, 0.8, 0.7, so on. If these values are 1 point something, then obviously you will go to the NUT table to find the rate. Remember, it's a IRR, internal rate of return. So your answer will be rate, not the dollar value, because NPV gives you dollar value. But here we're going to estimate the rate. If your values are 0 point, then you will go to discount table to find the rate. All right. Now, how can we find the rate? Because there are many values. There are, I guess, thousands or hundreds or thousands of values. How can we find our values? So easiest or simple way to find the value, find the rate, you always follow the time. You only follow the time row. So you have a look at your question. Your time is 2 years, your time is 3 years, your time is 4 years. So let's say your time is 4 years. And you will find the closest number to your value and then go up to find the rate. So let me show you through the table. So let's say I show you this table, right? So this is your discount table. For example, you divide your initial investment by your cash flows, and your value is, let's say, random number is 0.693. 0.693. Now, time is, for example, 5 years. Now we go to 5 years, only 5 years row. We don't have to look at anywhere this number, just 5 years row. Can you see the table? Let me, I don't know whether you can you see the table? Let me check. Something wrong. Now, can you see the table? Can you see the discount table? Say something. Okay. Now, what was the number? 0.693, right? And time is 5 years. All right. So now we go to the fifth row, only fifth row, because time is 5. So here is time, n is a number of years, right? Time 5. So we will find 0.693, the closest number. 0.69. 69, this is 78, 76, 74, 71, 69. So 0.680, 0.64. So obviously closest number to 0.693 is 0.680. Now we go up. Rate is 8%. So 8% is your IRR. So this is the way to calculate IRR. All right. Okay. So once we find the rate, so applying discount table or annuity table, we get the rate. This rate called IRR. Now, the question is, how can we select or reject this method? So remember, if IRR is greater than RRR, means discount rate or rate of return, we will select. If IRR is less than RRR, RRR means interest rate, discount rate, or rate of return, or required rate of return, whatever, right? That normally given in your question. So it's always given in your question, obviously. So that will be rejected. But IRR never equals to RRR. Why IRR is never equals to RRR? Let's understand this situation by taking example. Now, can you tell me why we borrow money? Remember, when we start a business, we need finance, right? Finance comes from, you know that we have two ways to get finance. We get equity, right? Or we got debts. All right, equity and debts. Let's take example of debts. When you have debts, on debts, you have to pay interest rate. Interest rate. So let's say you borrow money from bank at the rate of 10%, right? Now, what are you going to do with these debts, this finance? Obviously, you will invest. You invest to have return. This return will be your rate. And this is called IRR. So you borrow money at 10% and you find project to invest. And if this investment, which is your rate of return, if is more than 10%, so let's say is 12%. So what does it mean? Your profit is 2%. So this project is good. You never, ever find any project which give you 10% or less than 10%. All right. So 10% is your rate of return, rate of discount rate or interest rate. All right. And let's say 12% is your investment rate. This is called IRR. Right? You don't want any project which gives you IRR less than 10%. If you find any project which giving you IRR, which means your investment return is less than 10%, what you will do? You will reject that project. That will actually, we do that here. If IRR, let's say, if IRR is 9%, you select 12%, you reject 9%. Why you reject 9%? Because your IRR is less than rate of interest rate that you have to give it back to the bank where money you have borrowed. That's why, that's the reason your IRR never equals to RRR, because different investment give you different returns. Whichever investment is giving you higher return, so obviously you will choose or select that project. Otherwise, you will reject. For example, in simple language, if IRR is negative, if IRR is negative, which is less than RRR, you reject. You have two projects. In both project, your IRR is lower than RRR. You will never invest that money, never ever. So you borrow money from bank 10%, you will find only investment which gives you return higher than 10%, so you can make money. If IRR is increasing, so obviously your profit is increasing. But all the time you have to compare this IRR with your interest rate, the rate that you have to give it to bank, to find out how much profit actually you are making. All right, that's the meaning of this one. That's the idea here. So now let me find the question for you to calculate. Okay. So let's have a look at this question. Calculate IRR using this question. Actually, so here is your question. So it says that what is approximate IRR for the project that cost 50,000 and provide cash inflows 20,000 for 3 years? So can you calculate IRR? You don't have to calculate here IRR, select or reject, just simply calculate IRR. And for example, let's say if you discount, let's just write random number here, your discount rate, for example, let's say 9.5%. That's your discount rate. So calculate IRR here and give me your answer. It's 3 years. Finished? %10. Yes, that's right. 10%. Let's have a look at how we get this 10%. So formula is initial investment divided by cash flows. So initial investments, project cost is 50,000. That's your initial investment divided by your cash flows, which are 20,000. So if you're going to solve it, you will have 2.5, right? Now you can see that 2.5, obviously you will go to NUT table, right? NUT table, only 3 years row. So let me show you the NUT table. So here is your NUT table. So we'll find 2.5, 3 years, close to 2.5. So 3 is here, right? 2.9, 2.8, 2.7, 2.6, not 2.57, 2.53. So 2.48. I think that's the closest one. 2.48. So it's close to 2.5. So it means you go up, you find 10%. So let's go back to the question. So right answer is A. So if you find this table value, which is 10%, right? And last time I write down the discount rate. I write down discount rate was, let's say, 9.5%. And IRR is greater than RRR, or discount rate. So obviously we select this one. In fact, we select or. It's a quick idea to get the answer, right? Is that okay? Let me check what is that. Is that okay? Understand? Yes or no? Okay, let's move on to the next question. IRR. Let me show you the next question. So here is your next question. So it says that Pina company is considering a project that calls for an initial cash outlay of 50,000. The expected net cash inflow from the project are 7,791 for each of 10 years. So in 10 years, this is 7,791, not 1 year, right? So it's for 10 years. So what is IRR of project? Calculate IRR and give me the answer. So 50,000, same answer, okay. So 50,000, that's your initial investment divided by 7791. How much is this? If you divide 50,000 by 7791, this is 6417. It's 417 or 642. 6 point, sorry, yes, 6 point. So now this value, you will go to your, obviously, you will go to your annuity table. All right, you will go to annuity table, time is 10. If you go to annuity, time is 10, you will find approximately 6 point, let me check, 6.417 for 10 years. So annuity table. Okay, so here is your table, 10 years. So we're going here, 6.417 here. We have exact same number, 6.710, 6.417. That's 9%, all right? That's 9%. Here, 6.417, 9%. So IRR is 9%. 9%. That's your right answer, right? So that's all for IRR. So IRR is finished. And your topic 6 investment appraisal, also finished. So now we can have a break, and after break, we will do the test. So I will ask you some questions. Can you please confirm the topic that I mentioned in the previous class? So topic 3 and 4, right? Which topics I ask you to ask question to prepare for today's questions? How many topics? Please confirm again how many topics, 4 and 5, right? Or 3, 4, 5? Please, can you confirm how many topics for today's lecture?